Today we're going to get this shelving unit assembled. It's been a little bit of a road, got all the wood playing down, took a little longer than I thought it might, but it is what it is. I got the look that I want, the result that I wanted, so we are finally good to go. I am going to prepare the shelves before I sand them. I'm going to prepare them for their joinery, and I'm going to be using 3 pocket screws, and then I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch dowel. And I'm not going to recess the dowel. I am going to leave it exposed on the outside of the shelving unit's upright so that it'll be seen. I'm going to use 3 pocket screws and 4 dowels. So the first thing I want to do is get these laid out for their pocket screws and get all the pocket screws in them. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dirdorf and this is Detroit DIY. Let's get started. The 3 pocket screws I'm going to put in, I want 1 right in the center and then 2 on the outside here. I'm not sure exactly where just yet. I haven't got that far along. I have my combination square set at 5.5 inches, which is the center of this board, or slightly there under, 15-30 seconds. And I want to get me a nice line here and a nice line here. Now I want to look these boards over real good because I want to put the pocket screws on the bottom side of the bottom shelf and the center shelf, but then on the top side of the 2 upper shelves in these side units, and I'm going to do the same thing on the others. So now that I've got this marked out on here, I'm going to take my combination square, same thing, get it up on this line, and then just draw my line up. And after I drill my pocket hole through, then I will go ahead and sand these down, fill in any spots that I need to around the knots. Just like that. I'm going to get the centers marked out on the other 5 shelves, and then we will figure out where our outside pocket screws are going to be, and we'll get them marked out. I have all of my small shelves marked out in the center. I haven't done the longer shelves yet, but I'll do them in a minute. And one I'm not going to be able to mark in the center because that's right where the glue up is, and I don't want to compromise that, so I'm going to move over a little bit. I want to stay as close as I can, so I'm thinking 1 3/4 inch in from the outside for the other 2 pocket screws. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set at 1 3/4. And come through and get my marks on them. I'm going to get these all marked out, all 5 of these, and including my longer shelves, I'm going to go ahead and get them marked out. And then we will be ready to start drilling some pocket holes. With everything laid out on my shelves, we're ready to get some pocket holes drilled. I got my old trusty Kreg jig right here. I've got the drill bit. It's not a video about the Kreg jig, but I've got my drill bit set at 3/4 inch. I've got this set at 3/4 inch. And we are ready to clamp these in and drill a hole. The lines, I have them long enough that I can see them right here, so I know that that is going to be in the center. I'm going to clamp that in place, and we are ready to drill that first hole. I want to make sure that I'm sitting flat across the bottom of the jig so that my hole isn't crooked, and we are ready to go. I just saw an advertisement for the new Kreg jig. It looks flashy. I thought about going to get it, but this one works pretty doggone good. Especially for as little as I use it. And there we go. It's a nice clean pocket hole, no fraying. We'll go ahead and get these others in. get this cleaned off where I can see my mark. Make sure I'm sitting flat. Clamp it in. I'm off a little bit. I like that. Okay, it's as easy as that. Nice clean pocket holes. I am going to go ahead and drill the rest of these in, and we will come back and take a look. All of the pocket holes are drilled. I've got my wood filler and everything, and I've got them sanded. I sanded them with 120 and then with 220. They're super smooth. They feel really nice. What a mess it made in here, but we got it all done. We are ready to get these put together. I bought these right angle clamps on Amazon. They're pretty cool. I'm curious to use them and to see how they work out for me. I think I'll like them. They come with these nice little clamps to lock them in place. They have the holes in them, and you put the clamp through and then clamp this to the wood. And I believe these are going to work out very nice for me. We are going to be putting together the left hand side of the shelving unit. The way it was put together before, the shelves were just randomly placed, not per se one shelf in the center and then two shelves equally spaced from that, but just a random selection. So I measured it all before I took it apart in its original configuration, and that's how the shelves are going to go back in. So we need to get our shelves laid out. This is going to be the inside of the left hand unit, and this is what I want to be the face of it, this side of the board right here. So let's get these measurements laid out on here, get these clamps on, and start getting this thing put together. So I've been thinking about this, how I want to put this together, and it's a touch and go kind of thing, I guess. I'm not positive, but I believe I want to put the top shelf and the middle shelf on this side of the unit. And then I want to put the other side of the unit on, and then lastly install the bottom shelf. I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll see how it goes. So what I have here is from the bottom up, we're going to go 9 inches to the bottom of this shelf. We're going to go 31 1/4 to the bottom of this shelf, and we're going to go 47 3/4 to the bottom of this shelf. So we need to get that marked out over here. I only need to mark the bottoms because of the clamps that I'm using. I have a very nice sharp edge on my pencil, and I'll be double checking all these measurements as we go to make sure that the clamp is exactly where I want it. I'm going to start with this row right here, this shelf right here. We'll get this clamped into place. I'll show you how these clamp on there once we get everything clamped into place. I'm hopeful. When you put the pocket screws in, it tends to try to move things a little bit, and I'm hopeful these lock on there tight enough that that doesn't happen. I raised this board up. As you can see, I've got some shims under it so that it would give me room for the clamps. Alright, let's check this and see what we got. .48 3/4. 48 3/4. Can also check these with the square. Make sure we are looking good. And I like what I'm seeing there. So now I want to do this exact same thing for this unit right here, for this shelf right here, and we'll come back and take a look when we're ready to get everything together. We are ready to get this center shelf installed. I've got the clamps nicely located. I want to put a nice liberal coating of glue on this side. This will be my face. Here we go. I want to make sure I get a nice liberal coating on here. I think this is enough to do that. I want to see some squeeze out. Alright, I like that. This being the bottom of the cutting unit, I want the pocket holes to be down. We're going to set that in place and get it clamped. Before I get too much pressure on it here, I want to get it situated nicely from side to side. Like that. Before I screw that in place, I just want to double check my measurements here. 1/4. Actually, it's going to be easier for me to measure to the top of the shelf, which is 32. And 32. We are good to go. Get our pocket screws up here. I want to put the 2 outside pocket screws in first, and then the center one. I feel like that moved on me. And it did. For some reason, this bottom clamp has come loose. I got it back on my mark. Let me check this. I was hopeful these clamps would be strong enough to hold. Maybe I should have tried a little test piece first. Make sure I don't think this side moved. Well, that side is good. Actually, I think what I want to do is recoat it with glue. Did not have very good squeeze out, so I'm just going to get it coated up real good again. Thankfully it didn't get a grip of any sort. There we go. Let's try this again. Now, because that pocket screw already made a hole, it is going to try and go back to that. I know it will. So I'm going to clamp another piece of material in here prevent that from happening. So I like the fact that these clamps clamp everything nice and square, but I'm not so sure that I'm real fond of their clamping power. So I'm going to take this piece of 1x material. Let me check my measurements again real quick. Make sure nothing moved. 32 on the money. So I'm just going to help these out by clamping this piece right in here against the shelf. Probably should have done this in the first place. Alright. Now I don't think we'll move anywhere. Okay, I've got good squeeze out. I like that. Let's take a closer look at how these clamps work before I pull them off. So the L bend on this bar goes through these holes, and you have multiple choices of holes here. And then it's got a thumb nut and then a little clamp that goes over the top of the material. And it does hold it sufficient, but pocket screws have the tendency to push things away a little bit as they go in. So I'm not so sure they were designed for pocket screws. So I will just do the same thing next time. I'll block it right here. When I get that one all set up, I'll show you what we got going on. Now I want to get these off and get that squeeze out cleaned up. Got a little bit of glue on here. I'll clean that up so it doesn't cause me any holdback issues. Got me a little paper towel. It's nice and wet. I just want to go through here and pull out this excess glue. Alright, I'm happy with that. Let's get this next one installed. Since the other board pushed when I put the pocket screws in, I flipped these clamps around because I want to put the pocket screws or the pocket screw holes up on this shelf. I don't think it's high enough that you would be able to see them on the bottom, but irregardless, I'm going to glue some wooden plugs in here and kind of make them disappear anyway, and then that'll give me the ability to clamp my board back here on the back side and make sure that everything stays where it needs to stay. So let's get some glue on this one and get it in place. I'm just going to be liberal with the glue. I can clean it up afterwards. I'm going to get plenty on there. This might be excess. I'll probably have to remove just a slight amount, but it's alright. this one set in place, get it clamped. It seems like also because these clamps have this bend in them, if you put them in too far, it just tries to spit them out and they don't want to tighten right. And it seems like you're better off holding them back a little bit. If you go in too far, it seems like that bend right there kind of interferes. As you can see, it runs back to about there. They're nice and tight, but I am still going to clamp this in here. I'm not trusting it to not move. Alright, there we have it. Get that squeeze out cleaned up. Get this thing together. Now with these two installed, I'm going to move this one off to the side and bring the other side over and get the clamps put in place for these two shelves, and then we will mate them together. I've got my clamps in place here. Now I want to get some glue on the ends of these, and then I'm going to flip it upside down and move it over on top. And the reason I wanted to put two shelves at once is so that it would stabilize this when I bring it over. I don't think it'll be too hard to put that third shelf in once this is together. This has been a pretty long road to get to this point. And the assembly always seems to go fairly quick as opposed to getting everything ready for it. Alright, I'm happy with that. Bring it over here where I have a little better control of it. Flip it upside down. And put it in place. Just like that. What I like about this Type Bond 3 too is it gives you a lot of time for assembly. You don't feel as rushed. So this is now my face. I've flipped everything over. So I just want to make sure I like what I've got here. I like that. I like that. We are ready to go. Excellent. Squeeze out. I'm going to flip this around to the other side here. Everything clamped in place here. We are ready to go. There we go. Alright, I'm happy with that. Now we just got to get this very bottom shelf in and we'll be good to go. Now I want to get these clamped in place for this bottom shelf. I noticed a little gap over here, so I went ahead and put this big bar clamp on, pushed the gap out of it, and tightened this one pocket screw just a little bit. So I'm going to let that glue dry up before I take that bar clamp off. Actually, I want to put these on this way. Give them a chuck, make sure we're in the right place. Actually, I want to go from the inside. 9 inches. 9 inches, I like that. With a little meticulous measuring, moving, and retightening, I have these exactly at the 9 inches, and we are ready to get this bottom shelf installed. We are ready to get this bottom shelf in place, and this is just going to kind of be a squeeze in. I think I can do it without dragging any of the glue down the side of the main body here. So we want to get our glue on here. set it in here on an angle like this. Flex this up. Oh, look at that. Plenty of room. Get these clamps on. That was almost bad. I have a little gap here I need to take care of. The pocket screws may pull it tight, but then again, they may not. Alright, get these out of the way. Get some glue cleaned off. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to get the other one put together. It's the same process. I see no reason to really show it, so I'll get that one put together, and then we will be ready to assemble the two pieces. A couple little things here and there I want to do. I know I said that I was going to put dowels in. I may or may not. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure this is going to be fairly sturdy without it. We'll see. I wanted to do that after they were assembled anyway, so that you would see the dowel ends in the sides of it, so it doesn't matter if I do it now, or I could even do it when the unit is all put together. Either way, it would work out the same. But I'm not sure if I'm going to. I'm kind of liking the rigidity that I'm getting right now. I ran up and got some of the Craig wood plugs for the pocket holes, and I am going to go ahead and get them glued in. And they still protrude a little bit. They have to be flush cut after they're in. I don't know why they put the flat side on them. I guess maybe you might get lucky and one would fit in there. They fit in close, but I'm going to go ahead and get all them glued in. And then I can flush cut them and get them all done. If I can get it back out of there. I am not going to put a ton of glue on these. I'm going to have to sand them anyway after I flush cut them. So a nice light coating of glue. Although my glue seems to be plugged up here. What I want. Just slip it in there. Press it into place. There we go. Alright, I'm going to continue on gluing them in. We'll flush cut them before we take this unit down and get started on the other one. All my glue is dry, and now I'm ready to take care of these plugs. they protrude about 1/8 of an inch or something like that, a little more. I thought I would use a flush cut saw, and I tried to cut one on the back side of the top shelf, and it left some lines in the shelf itself that I'm just not happy with. Maybe this needs to be in someone's hands that used it a whole lot more than me, or maybe it's the shape of these plugs, because they're kind of on an angle right here, and I think they're trying to tilt the blade in because of this, or wedge it in. And at any rate, I am not happy with the results of this flush cut, and I don't want to muck up everything that I've got going on. So I put some 60 grit on my orbital sander, and I'm just going to focus on the plug itself, and I'm not going to take it completely flush because I don't want the 60 grit touching my shelf itself, just these plugs. Let's go ahead and get these 3 cut down. So now they're barely sticking up, and I didn't really touch my shelf anywhere, maybe a little spot or two, but it didn't really disturb anything. I can sand that right out. So now I'm going to put some 120 on here, and we're going to get these down flush. Then I'm going to do all of them like that, clean them out, wood putty if I need to in any of the little openings that may exist, and then 220 for my cleanup. Let's get some 120 on here. I've got some 120 on. Let's go ahead and get these flushed out. Alright, so there we have it. They are nice and flush, and my 220 will finish them up once I get my air on here a little bit, clean them out, make sure that there's nothing I want to put any wood putty in. But I am happy with that, and it went a lot faster than cutting just one with the flush cut, so, and a lot cleaner. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these done, and then we'll take a look. I've finished sanding all the plugs down, and as you can see, there's just some little spots on some of the plugs that need to be filled up. Some of them have some little bigger spots. Here's a little area right here. See if we can get the light on it right. There's a couple of them that are even a little worse, but all in all, I'm really happy with them. And then this is the top shelf there on the top. Here's where the flush cut saw got me a little bit. I may be able to sand that out. I put a little wood putty on it. We'll have to see. The second unit is also complete and caught up to the first one. Same thing there, I got these all done. There's a little area right here that's a little worse. So I'm gonna get the wood putty in them, and then this will be ready for some final sanding. I also need to do a little sanding here. We'll talk about that next. For the wood putty, I'm just going to take a generous amount, and I'm going to press it in over the entire plug, and then when I sand it, it'll sand away what I don't need and leave what I do. So I don't want to put it in there super heavy, but I want to press it in nice and tight so that it fills the gaps. Alright, I'm going to keep going with that. I've got all my wood putty in and it's going to need a little time to dry. I have some glue residue. I'm hopeful that you can see it. It's this yellow little line right here. And there's just a little bit in here. And that residue won't allow the stain to penetrate. So I've got some 220 sandpaper that I've folded in half so that I can get right in this corner and clean that off. It's just a very light amount of glue, so it won't take an immense amount of sanding to remove it, but I want to make sure that I get all of that glue off. Otherwise the stain just will not penetrate and you'll have a funny looking line there. So very little effort to clean it off because we did a pretty good job cleaning the squeeze out up to begin with. About all we need. I'm going to go through and get all these cleaned up, and then we will be just about ready to join these two units together. If you were watching in the beginning of this tutorial, you knew that I made the shelving unit longer than it used to be, and I no longer had a top for it. So I drove up to northern Michigan the other day to take care of some stuff that I needed to, and I stopped at the lumber yard where I got this material. They did not have any. They did have some white pine that they planed down themselves, but nothing in the width that I needed. So I wound up getting two 7-inch boards and gluing them together already planed. So at least I have the same material and it'll look the same when it is stained. So I need to get this sanded and get it ready to go. I am not going to cut it to length until I know exactly what that length is. So I'm going to get this thing all cleaned up and the top will be ready. The shelving unit is going to have an open back, so I wanted to make some bracing before I start assembling. And the bracing is going to go under the upper shelves in the side units and the upper shelves that the TV is going to be sitting on in the center unit. So this is what I came up with for design. I figured a little angle here would look nice. Nobody's really going to see it because there'll be a TV in front of it, and nobody will really see any of them. But I'm going to do the same thing for the smaller units that are already assembled. I've got it drawn out on here, but I don't have it cut yet. And then I'm going to be putting the pocket holes in. Basic same layout as this one. So let's take a look real quick where I'm going to put these, and then we'll cut this one out, and then we will get a test fit. So this is the top shelf of the side unit, and I've cut these to fit in between. They're a very snug fit. I didn't push it all the way in, just to give you a general idea where they're going to go. And then that notch out will be down here at the bottom. So let's get one cut out, and then we're going to get this thing put together. Before I cut this out, I want to get my pocket holes drilled into it. And the reason for that is it's going to remove some of my lines, my reference lines here for the pocket holes. Okay, got two of them in. I'm going to go ahead and drill the rest of these, and we'll come back and get it cut out. With the pocket holes all drilled, I'm ready to get this cut out. And I'm going to be using the circular saw, and I will just be cutting up to my lines. I'll show you here in a second. So just cutting right to my line, and then we'll finish with the jigsaw to get that cleaned out. But let's go ahead and get this one cut. I will be doing a plunge cut with the circular saw. Get this where you can see what I'm doing here. Just set the front of this in, hold the saw up. I'll do a video with some of this stuff on the circular saw, plunge cuts and stuff like that here in the very near future. My clamp is in the way back here, so I'll put that one on and remove this one. That finished, I'm just going to use the jigsaw and complete these cuts. Alright, there we have it. I'm going to get these all sanded up, get the other one cut out, and we are ready to assemble. I have these all sanded and I'm ready to get them installed. I've just got this one setting in here. They're a nice snug fit. And what I've done is I've clamped some boards in from behind. You can see them here as a stop. I have one on this side, one on this side, and then I have one right here on the bottom of the shelf. So I'm ready to get some glue on this and get it pushed into place and get it screwed in. Now, just like I did on the shelves, I'm going to glue the plugs in here, get them all sanded down, maybe a little bit of wood filler, and we will be set. I'm going to get these boards, these support boards I put in here out and get the glue cleaned up on the other side. And this is going to be a completed bracing. I have both of the end units completed and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I've sanded them with 150 and 220. So they are complete, except for I've softened some of the edges, but not all of them. After I get them joined together, I'll do that. I've got my clamps on here, and I've double clamped them so that my pocket screws don't push the shelf around. And we are ready to join these two units together. I'm trying to get you the best view possible of what's going on. And I've got these end units upside down currently, and I just need to do a little adjusting. I got my level across the top. I'm only going to join one side first and then the other side because I'm concerned that I know my floor in this garage isn't perfect, so I'm very concerned about these getting put together being a little bit off. So we're going to do one side and then the other, paying very close attention to how the board is sitting on these braces on each side. I'm inspecting my gaps on this side and I see that this outer edge here is not touching the shelf. So before I attach this, I want to go ahead and shim this side of this shelf until that sits nice across there. I've shimmed up this leg of this end unit about 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm sitting really nice on these square clamps. I'm happy with that. I'm going to get some glue on here and we're going to get this attached. Okay, I've got a nice coating of glue on there. Happy with that. I'm going to pop these clamps on, and then I'm going to put some additional clamps as well. And now my pocket screws. Nice, got some nice squeeze out. Very nice. Now what I want to do is push this side unit tight against it and just check to make sure that I'm sitting flat. Then I'll slide it back out some, put the glue on, and attach it. This one will be a little more difficult to glue, but that's alright. I'll just be putting it on my finger and putting it in that way. Get these screws in. Alright, I've got my brackets clamped on for my next shelf, and I've been, just to make sure that I'm really precise, going from this to the bottom of my shelf. And I am 26 1/4, I'm 26 1/4 on every one of them money. So I know that this shelf is going to go in nice and straight. Now what I want to do is give it a test fit. Fits in there very nicely. A little gap right here and a little gap right here. But before I screw this in, I'll make sure that I put some clamps on here and kind of pull things where they need to be. I'm really happy with that. I'm going to get some glue on it and get it in there. I'm not sure how I'm going to glue this one side just yet and get it in without smearing glue everywhere, but we'll figure it out. There we go. Alright, I am happy with that. I'm going to clamp this side down. The only clamps I had long enough to reach the full length here were these pipe clamps. Like that. I'm going to get one on the other side. And there we have it. I'm going to get all these clamps off and get that glue cleaned up, and we'll be ready to go on to the next step. Alright, with that done, I am going to get the wood plugs glued into these pocket holes on both of these shelves, and then get this brace in on this top shelf. I've got the shelving unit turned back upright, and I am ready to put the top on. I cut it, it's 84 inches. I've got my clamps on here, and I'm going to use some pocket screws on the inside. I drilled these in off video, but we're going to use pocket screws to hold the top on. And we're going to get this thing clamped into place and get this finished up, the last piece. Before I put glue up there, I just want to give it a test fit and make sure that we are in good shape. I think I'm going to turn this over. I might like that better because then I could easily pull the cup out. Right now I cannot easily pull the cup out. So let's turn it over and have a look, see how it looks on that side. I like that a lot better. I'm going to go ahead and get some glue on here, and we're going to get this thing installed. Alright, let's get it up there. Now for these centers, I'm just going to clamp this in against them and go ahead and screw them in. This one's just a little bit out. I'll have to sand it off. There's not a lot I can do about it. squeeze out, cleaned up, we'll be good to go. Alright, there we have it. I'm going to get the plugs glued in these pocket holes and then we'll take a look. Okay, here we go. I've got these pocket hole plugs glued in. They're not sanded yet. I still have a little bit of sanding to do on the back. There's still a little sanding to do. There's a gouge here and there that I have to take care of. As you can see, that it's the bracing that I put in, it's a little difficult to see standing up, but sitting down it'll be a little easier to see. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. A little bit more sanding and this thing will be complete. It's been a long road, but we're finally there. It's all put together. Now it's probably going to take me a week or a week and a half, get it all the sanding finished, get it cleaned up, and get some finish on it. I think it's going to look amazing. I'm really happy with how this has turned out. And you know, for someone that doesn't do very many woodworking type projects, I'm really happy with my results. I'm glad I caught my mistakes when I did and I got it corrected beforehand. It's just taking time, checking everything over and making sure that you've got all your bases covered. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider doing so. If you enjoyed yourself, click on the playlist or the video that's going to pop up next to me. And remember to always respect the power of your power tools.